If you're thinking about changing schools, why wait? At Manhattan University, love those guys. You don't have to start over. With transfer-friendly pathways, your credits count, and you keep moving forward. From day one, you're part of Jasper Nation, preparing for the real world. And with New York City just a train away, opportunity is everywhere. Ready to move forward without missing a step? Visit manhattan.edu/transfer and enroll today. Manhattan University. Don't start over. Move forward.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, has Jerry Nadler of New York, the congressman, longtime one, has he lost his mind? It really is incredible. Just a little bit ago, he seems to be making comments that I believe on the Rita Cosby Show here are very incendiary, very insightful in terms of inciting individuals. Listen to what he had to say, because, of course, we know now that the government has reopened. The votes were there. Thank goodness for that. But now there will be a 2-week period where Washington and the rest of the country will, of course, be talking about ICE. And the Democrats want to defund ICE. They want to stop deportations, even of criminal migrants, mind you. And Jerry Nadler actually had to say this about the brave men and women working in immigration and customs enforcement. Listen to what he said and tell me how reckless you think this is.
But what is really the major problem in this country today is the fascism in our streets. The attacks on American citizens by masked hoodlums. If you were attacked by a masked person, you might think you were being kidnapped. You'd be justified in shooting the person.
That
to protect yourself
is a shocking comment. And you heard how we kind of just waited, to protect yourself. First of all, to say that about ICE, to say that you would be justified in shooting ICE, has he lost his mind? That's a serious question, because that is a completely reckless and ridiculous statement. And at a time where tensions are high and attacks against ICE agents at an all-time high, where death threats against ICE agents are 8,000% increase, this is deeply, deeply concerning. Here is Congresswoman Sarah McBride, Democrat from Delaware, the state of Joe Biden, and she's saying that Kristi Noem needs to be fired. And listen to what else she wants to happen.
If Donald Trump does not fire Kristi Noem this week, then House Democrats will move to begin impeachment proceedings against her next week when we return to session. The House is currently out of session this week. I'm down in Sussex County today, a county with a significant immigrant population. But regardless of where I am in Delaware, red areas or blue areas, one of the things that I most consistently hear from constituents, people who hold a range of positions on immigration policy, is that they are outraged and disgusted by what they are seeing unfold before their very eyes. The abridgment of due process for our immigrant neighbors. The killing, the murder of American citizens in our streets. ICE and CBP are out of control. And it's one of the reasons why I voted against the DHS funding bill last week. It's why I was one of the first House Democrats to endorse impeachment of Kristi Noem, and why I was an original co-sponsor of the articles of impeachment weeks ago. Since then, 2/3 of my House Democratic colleagues have joined on as co-sponsors, and just yesterday, House Democratic leadership endorsed impeachment proceedings against Kristi Noem. We have a lot on our plate to stop the cruelty in our streets and in our communities. There are conversations around funding and structural reforms that have to move forward, and we have to be forceful and bold. But we cannot have a conversation around accountability if we do not begin with the agents and the leaders of DHS who have made this violence possible. Right now, masked agents are murdering people in the streets, and their leaders are covering up for them and lying to the American people, all seemingly with impunity. That gives a license for more violence. Kristi Noem has to be out of a job. These agents have to be out of a job and held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Anything short of that gives a license to others to commit violence. We have to be clear and decisive in this moment as elected officials, as Americans, that this kind of violence, the violation of freedom and rights that we are seeing over the last year, not just the last few weeks, is unacceptable and un-American. This is not about immigration. This is not about law enforcement. This is about masked paramilitary forces terrorizing communities, intimidating our neighbors. All for a single man and his very fragile ego.
That is shocking. You heard what she said. If Kristi Noem doesn't get fired this week, they're going to start impeachment proceedings against her next week. These people, can you imagine if the Democrats end up winning the House in the midterms, and there's a good chance they could, just because historically the party that is not in the White House typically wins during midterm elections, which is why President Trump's getting out there like the Energizer Bunny this year. There's no doubt he has to, because he'll drive people to the polls more than members of Congress will. Because, of course, it's the Senate and the House that's at stake. But it's also Trump's agenda that's at stake, because they clearly will put roadblocks every single different direction if indeed they get the House and Senate. If they get the House, they can impeach. You know, if they have an overwhelming or at least even a slimmest of majorities, they can impeach. Then they can send it to the Senate. If they don't have the Senate, it dies. But just think about it. Alejandro Mayorkas was not removed. If anybody deserved to be removed from office, it was Alejandro Mayorkas. And yet they're going after Kristi Noem. And you can bet that list will not stop at Kristi Noem. They probably have a list of dozens, I bet you. Stephen Miller, I'm sure, is on that list too, knowing the Democrats, because they seem to be making him the new villain du jour. Meantime, there's also some big breaking news, guys, on the case about Nancy Guthrie. That's Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother.
So we got that looks like it's written like a ransom note for Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Specific requests
and they're very
for certain amounts of money,
very specific.
Bitcoin.
And also they say at the bottom, there are certain things they're saying about what she was wearing and damage to the house.
That they're clearly saying to verify that
it's us.
We know what we're talking about here.
So we've contacted the Sheriff's Department, and we want to get them this letter. We had a little trouble getting through to the right person, but the person we spoke with is now forwarding this to somebody in the Detective Bureau. So if my phone rings, I may have to stop. And
what's interesting is, there was just a news conference that just ended with the sheriff, and he was asked about, and we're going to do this segment in a few minutes, but he was asked about a ransom note, and he just said, we're following all leads.
Yeah, and it's again, we don't know
if this is legit, right.
if it's authentic or not. But when you read it, they're acting as if, only we would know these things, right. And we're serious, and there's a dollar demand and an or else in there. Mm-hmm. So we will let you know as this thing kind of develops.
That is from TMZ. And this is interesting because TMZ, the news organization that says they got this letter, and the letter in it, this is with Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show host, that case right there out of Tucson, Arizona. And in that particular case, they got this letter that says, we know what she was wearing when she was taken. Information that has not been made public because we haven't heard that yet. Apparently, TMZ got a letter on Monday, and apparently also a local TV station got the same letter. And also it has the same ransom demand. Apparently they're asking to be paid in Bitcoin. It's sort of a crypto person. Apparently this Bitcoin account has been authenticated according to multiple reports. And also you heard that there is apparently a deadline, like you better make sure that you transfer this money or else, which is really frightening, tied to Nancy Guthrie. The other news that's just coming out in the last few hours, and there's a lot of details on this case. The whole country's been glued to this case. The other new detail is that there are signs of forced entry, according to multiple reports tonight, and also that there are signs of blood splatters on the front porch. There's some new video that just came out, and you could see blood splatters, like a blood trail coming from inside to the outside, it looks like. So we don't know, is that Nancy Guthrie's blood? We don't know, is that maybe potential abductor's blood? We don't know. But we do know that her cell phone was left. A lot of stuff tied to her. Her medicine was left. A lot of these things. So when you see all these things put together, it sadly does not look good for Nancy Guthrie, and that is just heartbreaking. I know Savannah Guthrie. She's a lovely woman, and you could tell how much she absolutely loves her mother. We're also trying to find out about Ring cameras. You know, where are these videos? Typically, there's so many often surveillance videos that come out there that provide details. Remember in the Charlie Kirk case, Tyler Robinson, there were videos everywhere. Remember of him going up and down the stairwells, even though at first you couldn't necessarily ID him, but you could also tell certain things about his walk or his clothes or other things. But he was captured all over the place, hopping off the roof, going into the neighborhood. There were so many layers in that particular case. And yet here so far, no video as far as we know. It doesn't seem like it because the sheriff sounds like he doesn't have any video. They haven't put it out. You would think if they've hit a bit of a dead end, and it sounds like they have hit a bit of a dead end. If that's indeed the case, wouldn't you think they'd put out video? That's what they did also, remember, at Brown University. Remember the shooting in Brown University? They put out the video, and then suddenly things started coming together. So in this particular case, they haven't put out any video yet, but they are asking for the public's help. And they certainly seem to be at a dead end. At least that's how it appears. Like, it doesn't seem like any big thing has struck them. If indeed these ransom notes that now TMZ and other news organizations say they have received, if they turn to be authenticated or some details that maybe are correct about what she was wearing or some inside information, so it does look like they are the right people. We don't know if that is or not yet, but if it does turn out to be that way, then maybe you could check the handwriting. I remember I covered the Unabomber, you guys, and the whole case with Ted Kaczynski, the way that that case was busted was his brother said, that sounds like my brother Ted. Some of the phrasing in the letter, some of the verbiage in the letter, some of the way it was expressed in the letter. Sometimes you can tell by handwriting. If it's a handwritten letter, we don't know. Is it handwritten? Is it typed? We don't know. But that could also provide some big time clues. Also, what about Ring Cam? How about not just, cameras from the streets, but it is a pretty desolate area and it's a really poorly lit area, which is making the investigation so much more difficult. They're also looking at DNA. They're looking at cell phone towers, trying to see who might have been in the area at that time. And then there's another report tonight, guys, that the Ring camera, that there was some sort of camera attached to the house where Nancy Guthrie was living, this beautiful $1 million house there in Arizona. And apparently that camera was ripped out. So if those reports are correct, who's ripping out the camera? Who knew the camera was there? Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're not. But maybe somebody who knew, who'd been to the house, a housekeeper, I don't know, a gardener, you don't know. Was there somebody who was taking care of her health-wise too? We don't know. 84 years old. This is just so disheartening. A contractor? Did somebody come in to remodel the house? We don't know. But boy, are there a lot of questions tonight. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And we will take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Wherever Bud goes, his harmonica goes with him. It's a pocket full of soul. Now he's living with prostate cancer. He asked his doctor about Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And some beautiful news tonight. I just literally saw this, that President Trump has just informed the parents of fallen U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Michael Olis that their son will posthumously receive the Medal of Honor. Staff Sergeant Michael Olis of Staten Island, New York, died while trying to save the life of a Polish soldier in Afghanistan in August of 2013. He was on his third combat deployment when a suicide bomber charged towards an already wounded Polish Army officer. Staff Sergeant Olis moved between them and selflessly shielded the Allied officer, who later named his son Michael from the deadly blast. Really incredible. And I am just so happy. I want you to know, I know the parents of Michael Olis. They're incredible people, and I have tears in my eyes to know that President Trump is going to be honoring their son with the Medal of Honor. Wow. So beautiful and so incredibly well-deserved. That will be a moment for all of us to behold. And I'm so happy for them. This is incredible news. Bob and Linda Olis, I hope you're tuning in. I know you love this show. We love you. And Michael is smiling from above. Wow. Let's go to Liz in Florida, line 4. Go ahead, Liz. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. I'm just kind of sad about this kidnapping. And I was just wondering, with all the technology that we have today, that I would think that the FBI would be able to find who actually owns these accounts, because I think that, Bitcoin accounts can be stopped or seized by authorities if they're involved in any illegal activity.
Yeah, that's of course, you're talking about the Nancy Guthrie case. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it sounds like, according to reports, Liz, that they have found that it's an authentic account. Now, the question is who owns it. The question is, can they trace it? Is it legitimate? We don't know. But there's a lot of questions tonight. Liz, thank you very much. Great points.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Utah, where two people fell through the ice and frigid waters in the reservoir while out fishing just a few days ago. Officers were immediately called in, and they responded to rescue a man and a woman who'd fallen through the ice. The Mantua police said that the man and woman were fishing when the ice started to crack beneath them. They quickly tried to stand up and move upon hearing the ice starting to crack, yet the ice collapsed all around them, and they fell through the ice and into the frigid waters. Now, once on the scene, the officers responded with flotation devices and with additional help from bystanders, and they were able to get both the man and woman out to safety. Definitely, many people said it was critical that law enforcement responded so quickly. Had they not, they certainly would have succumbed to hypothermia and were definitely struggling in very, very cold waters. As you know, we're dealing with very frigid temperatures across the country tonight. Well, we are also talking about the case of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mom, the 84-year-old. A lot of new clues on that case tonight, and also so many attacks against ICE in general. Obviously, we know that the funding bill has gone through, but the rhetoric has not stopped. I mean, it's amazing to hear people like Chuck Schumer saying that this is a, quote, secret police force. You heard what Jerry Nadler said. This is just shocking all the way around. And I think it's going to get a lot worse, guys. It's an election year and the midterms are right around the corner. Meantime, President Trump is also talking about the case of Nancy Guthrie and her very troubling disappearance from her home. And it looks like it happened overnight while she was asleep in her bed. So who would want to take an 84-year-old woman? It doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to do it? And who do you think might be responsible? First off, here's the audio. This is an individual calling 911 to report that Nancy Guthrie was missing. Here's the actual audio of that 911 call.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, powder blue. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
And that is the call out to authorities. Hurry up and get there. Also, President Trump talked about Nancy Guthrie today and her daughter Savannah in the Oval Office. Listen to this.
Have you been briefed on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona?
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents like helping out on the search?
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always got along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, very unusual. Even President Trump is following developments, and there were quite a bit of them today. Although it seems like coming from the sheriff's department, they still seem completely perplexed. Here is the sheriff there in Arizona, Chris Nanos.
9:45, 9:30, 9:45, we were told she was left at her home by the family. At 11 o'clock in the morning, the family got notice from somebody at church that she was not at church. They went to the home, found her to be missing. That's the timeline. From Saturday night, 9:45, we'll say, to Sunday morning, 11 o'clock.
Have you been?
So it's that window from 2 a.m., rather 9:45 when somebody dropped them off, to the next day at 11 o'clock. But then there are reports that the pacemaker stopped syncing up with the device around 2 a.m. And they believe that she was snatched likely while she was asleep. So that could also narrow certainly the time and also the window. So do you think they know more than they're saying? We have these reports tonight of a potential ransom note that went to TMZ and to other news organizations with demands and descriptions of what she was wearing. That could be pivotal if that is authenticated. Here is Chris Schwecker, former assistant director at the FBI, and this is what he surmises could be the motive.
There's only two reasons you would take somebody out of the house at her age, and that would be to empty the bank account. They need her to do that possibly for an ATM transaction or something larger. Or something bad happened inside the house. Something went wrong during a home invasion or a robbery, and they took her with them to hide basically the evidence.
Really troubling either way. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn on line 4. Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah. Hi, Rita. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm not going to second guess or anything about, let's see how this plays out and we hope for the best. But for me, what am I getting from this? My mom died 8 years ago last week, and, she was 97. And, when you hear about a case like this, it just, it makes you think about how much you love them. Yes. And in that vein, I saw tonight, I'm bringing this in, I'm scattered, but it does connect. I saw Melania with my friend Sandra and Michael from New Jersey. And
you saw the movie. You saw the movie.
Once again, a lot of that was her talking about her father and her mother and how much, she missed her mother. And anyway, while I was waiting to see the movie, before the movie, I saw your book. And once again, it's about how much, that book, it's a wonderful book. And I could see how much you loved your father by that book.
Thank you. And my mother, too. And I talked a lot about my mother, too.
Yes. Yeah. I was just looking at the pictures. I didn't have the time to read it. I'm going to buy it. And tomorrow.
Thank you.
And the thing is that I'm just saying, and once again, of course, I have a similar background. My mom went through hell, World War II, Nazi-occupied Austria, as you do. And I'm just saying it makes you, all that stuff. I came home kind of an emotional wreck thinking about my mom and thinking about, how we have to hold our loved ones close to us. And
by the way, Norm, you are so spot on. I think we all feel like if something were to happen to our mother, to somebody that we love. And the word just came out a little bit ago that Savannah, and I've met Savannah a number of times through the years. She's a lovely woman and a sweetheart, and very much somebody who absolutely loved her mom. And her deeply rooted in faith, which I hope is helping her get through some of this incredibly difficult time. But she has just canceled going to the Olympics. And that's obviously always a big highlight for journalists to be covering the Olympics. It's NBC. Right. She's NBC. So it's a big deal. But she's obviously seeing what we're all seeing, that it's extremely troubling. And here it is, 48 hours plus that her mother has been missing. I mean, sadly, the longer it goes, the more troubling it is. And You're right. I think this case hits so close to home to everybody because it's so personal. What do you think could be the motive for this? It's so troubling, Norm, because as we talk about the details, and if these ransom notes are accurate, that could shed obviously a lot of light on motive or cause or connect the person. Hopefully they find the person. The FBI's there. But so far, the fact that they haven't I'm surprised they haven't put out any footage yet. Maybe they think they want to have an element of surprise on somebody, but time is really on the essence. But I surmise they don't have any footage to put out yet. What do you think?
I think listen, I think the cops are keeping it close to the vest, whatever information they have, but it's money. I mean, whatever it is, I mean, that's why you kidnap people. I mean, either you kidnap them for money. That's it. I mean, this is the whole concept of, I mean, they didn't, so it, somehow there will be a ransom. I mean, it will, and
by the way, Norm, that's what they're putting in the letter.
I don't even put it out there that, if this was, a psycho, if this is, listen, I'm hoping for the best. And, I'm hoping for the best and praying for the best, and that's it. I mean, I hope it's a matter of just, a ransom need, and they get the ransom and they get the guy or whatever, or the group, and that's it. And the mom is fine. I mean,
Well, by the way, that's what I'm also
hoping
hoping for, Norm, too, that the mom is okay, because if these ransom notes are correct, obviously it's troubling. You don't know who is this person, if it's correct, if these these notes are correct. But you would think if they are asking for ransom, they're trying to keep the person alive. So hopefully they're keeping her alive and getting her medication that she needs. And let's pray that she comes home safe and sound. Maybe there's some slight glimmer of hope, if indeed that's the case. And let's pray. Boy, Norm, thank you. You're right. It really hits so close to home. Let's go to Tony in Clifton on line 5. Tony, your thoughts tonight.
You know, Rita, I am going to talk about Savannah because we've all been looking forward to the Milan Olympics. I have. I love the skating. I love the whole thing.
Yep, Jim. There's so many layers to it. It's just amazing.
So, and NBC does a stunning job, and I happen to be very fond of Savannah, and I'm so glad that in the midst of all this chaos and the Democratic rhetoric of hate, which is really not politics. Hate is hate. So I'm hoping this will all come to light in the midterms. But what I want to say about Savannah is that what's a good thing is that people know, like Greg Kelly prayed for her. We're all praying for her mom. I believe if it was an in-home intrusion, she wouldn't have made it out alive, or she would have just, told the story. I was robbed. This is what happened.
And by the way, from what we're hearing, Tony, we haven't heard that there were items removed from the house. Right. So it seems like it wasn't, to your point, a home invasion. It seems like that there was a bigger objective, that they weren't breaking into the house. They were breaking in the house to take her for some reason. So you have to go. And also, if indeed these, first of all, to go into a house and snatch an old woman, an older woman, in the bed in the middle of the night, and somebody who obviously has mobility issues. She's very cognizant, apparently mentally, but physically has some problem moving, which is why they know she wouldn't have left on her own. That you have to, what kind of a person is it? I mean, there are so many issues. What kind of a person is it? And then the other issue is did they follow her home? Did they know that it was Savannah Guthrie's mother? Did they just see, maybe a family out to dinner, and it was somebody who happened to be they said they went out for dinner that night, and then they brought her home around like 9:45. Was there somebody else at the restaurant who saw something? Was there a housekeeper? Was there a gardener? Like, who would have access to the house? Because so far we haven't heard about any footage. And then there are reports that the sort of camera that was supposed to be there wasn't set up. And there's some reports that it may have been like pulled off. So if that's the case, it might be someone who really sort of knew the place, had been in the home maybe to get in safely in there. Was there somebody who worked there that, a few weeks before said, oh, that's Savannah Guthrie's mother. Oh, I bet she has a lot of money. Or there's this rich woman who lives here. We're going to do this job, and here's what we have to do. Someone who cased out. You don't just suddenly show up at a house in the middle of the night and snatch somebody from their bed and then, looks like for ransom. So all these things, what does this lead you, Tony? And it's very troubling, really troubling. Your thoughts of where they should be looking now?
So my thoughts, because of my just gut about the Olympics, because, kidnapping a senior citizen isn't that common, although kidnapping isn't common as it is. I strongly believe it's connected in some way to the Olympics. It's just too coincidental to me. I could be wrong. I think, like anything else, like how to kill an insurance executive in Midtown, everything was planned. The Bitcoin is very strategized. I just think it has something to do with her, and it has to do with either a political thing. Money is sort of part of it, but I think it's a lot. There's a lot of very sick people out there in the world, internationally as well. And I think it could be an international thing. I just feel it's just so weird to be anything else. I think it's the Olympics connection.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Like, you just brought up the Olympics. You're right. That's an interesting point. The other issue is it is about 60 minutes from the border. It's very close. We know that the FBI is involved, Tony, and we know that Custom and Border Protection are involved too as well. Also, again, we don't know. I'm just throwing out options, guys. But when you talk about Bitcoin and like cryptocurrency, guess what? Cartels use that kind of money. A lot of other people do too, but cartels are also known to use that kind of a cash type thing too as well. So that's an interesting premise. Tony, thank you very, very much. And let's pray that there's some good news soon. Let's pray that maybe law enforcement is more aware and has some clues. Maybe that ransom note triggers a name or triggers an individual or a location so they could actually go and try to locate her. I am just praying so hard for Savannah, and I'm praying so hard for her family and praying that her beautiful mom comes home very soon. You guys, we're going to continue after the break talking about this, ICE, and so much more. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And you guys know I always read your social media posts here also on The Rita Cosby Show on Twitter X. Sal writes, Rita, and this is a very interesting point, Sal. If the kidnapper of Nancy Guthrie knew Mrs. Guthrie, wouldn't that person have taken her meds so that Mrs. Guthrie would not have any medical issues? That's a very good point. If the intention was to take her for ransom and knew her, wouldn't you think they knew that she was taking heart medicine? Maybe that's a very good sign. That may be not a good sign in terms of who took her, but a good clue that maybe it's somebody who knows her but doesn't know her that well. So someone who may be slightly removed from someone who would be with her every day, like a caretaker or somebody like that would certainly know that she's taking those kind of meds. But that's a very good point, Sal. And that could also narrow the field as to who may have possibly done this. Let's go to Pete in Staten Island, line 4. Pete, your thoughts tonight.
Rita, the Bitcoin thing is what scares me because money is traceable. Serial numbers, the Bitcoin is really, really not something that's traceable. And that's why they would do that angle. And, they're saying cartels, drugs and stuff. I don't really think with drug cartels because they're making enough money with all the stuff that they've been sending in to poison our kids and our senior citizens that, do the drugs.
But you know what, Pete, when you say cartels too, and when I use that example, it may not be like a major cartel operation. It may just be somebody who's sort of involved in crime tied to cartels, or it may be, just somebody who happened to know the house. It may have been somebody who had been casing out the area for a while. There's a lot of scenarios. Sadly, none of them are good, Pete.
Well, I dealt with home care with my parents that were sickly and myself and everything. And, I had anybody that ever took care of my mom or my dad or me and my wife and Renee, we always had people that we hired from other people. I mean, I could go and say that there was a very known mobster that had somebody taking care of his mother. And he referred me when his mom died at the funeral that for my mom. And she took care of my mother, and she was fantastic. She was from Nigeria. And what it is...
Now, wait a minute. You had somebody who had ties to the mob there? Why, you figured you figured they wouldn't mess with the mob, right?
well, this was actually Castellano's bodyguard, Bilotti. And he had his mother taken care of. And before, when his mother passed away, I went to the funeral. And because the whole family, I grew up, I went to school with them and everything. But a lot of legitimate people. They worked in the restaurant business and things that I was involved with,
Yeah, you know what, Pete? You have really had an interesting life. I mean, boy, oh boy, every time you talk about these layers, I'm waiting for the Pete the movie. Because that will be a blockbuster. You have to do it at some time or write a book about your life because You've had so many just fascinating experiences. But I hear what you're saying. Like, you have to vet who gets into the house, who might be maybe a repair person, mail people. I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a lot of things, guys. We're going to continue after the break and talk about Democrat rhetoric against ICE.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.